Surprise, surprise. We're live. We're doing some live mixing here. So let's jump back in. I'll be working in Pro Tools today again. And I'm just kind of finishing up the last song that I started on a live stream. So if you're here for the first time, I'm Bradley Denniston. This is Radium Records. We're in Hollywood, California. And today I'm going to be working on an EDM track. Got some female vocal chops and stuff in there. Drums, synthesizers, build-ups, drops. You know, very, very straightforward EDM kind of vibes. So, yeah, let's dive in. It's going to be pretty basic. But, yeah. You guys ask questions if you have any. Just drop them in the comments. And I'm just kind of jumping into his live stream. I didn't, let anybody know. So, if you're here, awesome. It's the 26th of December. It's the day after Christmas. And we're just back at it. We've been working, you know? If you're not working today, then you're lucky, and you're probably rich. Rich as fuck. Nah, so I'm using Pro Tools Studio. I'm on the latest stuff. I'm opening it using Rosetta. If you guys don't know what any of that means, then ask questions in the comments. Let me know if you're in the house, and if you like the live streams, then share the show. That would be really nice, because I'm gonna be going through some stuff with y'all. All right, so I'm just picking up where I left off with this last track by Blizz Beats. It's called There's No One Else. And it's a pretty straightforward EDM track, and I'm starting to put all the instruments in. I've got sort of like the bass, the drums, the vocals pretty dialed in, you know? Not perfect, but they're dialed in pretty good. And then I'm just going to be going through the instruments and the risers and the drops and the 808s and all that stuff, kind of show you how I get through that stuff and I start to put this whole thing together. So probably live stream for about an hour and a half. So hopefully you guys get a lot out of this. Opening up the session is always really exciting. Restoring tracks, man. It's going to be sick. All right. Drew Hawks in the house. What's up, man? Good to see you, bro. Hope you guys had a good holiday. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. All right. So here's what we got with the session so far. I just wanted to kind of go through, like how they have the, like when you go to a Netflix series or a Hulu series, they're like previously on, whatever. Like that's what we're going to do right now. So previously on mixing There's No One Else. We went through and we set up the drums, we set up the master augs, we got the variable mute, we got the BX Digital V3, we got the Limitless, the Oxford Inflator, the Goldfoss, the Soothe 2. I bypassed the standard clip and I've put the gold clip in there instead. I got the Avalon 747 with just a little bit of EQ kind of curve, a little tiny bit of compression. And the God Particle finishing off with the adaptive limiter and a negative 0.2 on the dB. Ducked the mids just a touch and the lows just a touch and 2.4 dB gain reduction so we can hit that green box. That's the whole idea of this plugin. And yeah, first thing I do always when I go to start working on a mix is I go save session as, and I save it as today's date. So this is already saved as today's date, so we're good. Just hit save. I'm going to say yes, I want to replace it. And then I have the reference up top. This is the reference from the client. So I can listen to that at any time and I can compare to my mix. This is going out the monitor left, right, which would just be my stereo out going directly out through my my converters. And then this is the master augs where everything is routed, right? So the all instruments, all vocals, all drum and bass, those are all going to submix. Submix is then going to monitor left, right. So now I can A/B my reference versus my mix and master, okay? So that's the idea. Right now we got drums in, we got risers in, we got vocals in, and the only things that we don't have in are at the bottom here that are blue and even this red. So we have just these tracks down here that still need to be added to the mix. And I kind of do this in a timeline fashion. And the reason I do that is because I think of a mix as like all these different sections, like these different moments in time in the song. So what I usually do is I trim the start of the files so I can figure out exactly where those things come in, right? So you can see like a bass and 808 comes in with another drum and a snare and a melody guitar. So I have all these new things that are going to be coming in to the mix at that point. So yeah, that's kind of where it's at. So let's just listen to it. I'll make sure you guys can hear it by going to my playback engine and making sure it's coming out the Ecamm stuff. So you guys can hear what I'm hearing in the studio. What's up with everybody? Everybody good? Yo, Philippe. How you doing, man? It's good to see you. Good to see your icon on the screen. Oh, man. I got this really dope synth for Christmas. The Trigon 6, the sequential Trigon 6. I've been going nuts with it. Be ready for some more synth pop, synthwave vibes. New records coming, of course, always. But for now, we're mixing records. Got lots of mixes to do. And of course, everybody wants to drop some new records in the new year, right? If you're not dropping records in the new year, what are you doing? What are you doing? Awesome, man. All right, so let's tap in. This is rebuilding, so you guys can like actually hear it through the Ecamm software. So I'm gonna just kind of play it from the beginning and let you hear kind of where we're at. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Just kind of bouncing back and forth just on this part here to the reference, just so you can hear like the difference. So a lot more dimension to the mix I'm doing. Obviously, he's also got a lot of like mids and a lot of stuff just on top of each other, which is fine. It just makes it feel really small and very like mono, right? And I'm just trying to open the mix up. That's really like what I'm going for with this record. Because it's kind of a weird record. It has kind of like these samples and stuff, and the vocal doesn't really feel necessarily like it's like a lead vocal. Just kind of feels like a sample, like a chop or something. So I'm just trying to make the whole landscape kind of open up a little bit more. And of course, we're not to really the mastering phase yet. I'm just kind of mixing into my master bus. So we will be getting more volume and stuff out of everything. But for now, I just want to kind of give everything its own space, right? So the next thing to pop in here is this 808, right? So I can just mute this and listen to it real quick. Okay, so it's pretty musical. It's got a lot of harmonics, got some distortion on it, so it's cutting pretty good. I'm going to bring it up here to the drums and the 808. And I already have like, you know, through my template, I just have like my track set up for an 808 because obviously you mix a ton of 808s. It's just the way it works. A lot of modern music uses 808s. So on the 808 track, all I have on this one is a Pro Q3. Not much, right? So we're just trimming out the 14 hertz and below, which I might bring that up even a little bit more. And then sweeping everything low pass to 3200 hertz, okay? And then I have this duck bus. What this duck bus is it basically is sending to anything that I want to duck when that hits. So this is taking the sidechain here, and this will duck by 7.7%, just the bottom here, okay? So this is just gonna make room for the 808 if I want it to. I can also do the opposite and say, hey, I want the kick to take over the low end, not the 808. So I can option drag this track spacer, or as you can see, I already have it on this track, and I can just hit Control Command and click, and that's gonna unbypass that here. And you can see I have the duck key here. So I don't want to be obviously making a loop, because that's a feedback loop right there, sending this to the track spacer key. Not really a feedback loop because it's not going to be audible, but I don't need to be sending it to that. That'd be silly, right? So bypass that and instead go to my kick drum, right? Wherever that kick drum is, because you have a bass 808 here and I think a kick drum. Yeah, so you got a new kick here that comes in. So this is a kick track, right? So let's go up here and put this where the kick is. And simple, I'm just going to right click and duplicate this kick because we already have a kick. I'm not going to do the active playlist because that would bring the audio with it as a duplicate. But now I have this same exact routing and everything, and I'm going to just move that up there. And I have the same EQ, and I have the same sends to the duck, which is then going to duck the 808 every time this hits, right? Because you have the track spacer. So that's going to give room to the kick. You can also you could use whatever you want. As long as you have this duck sidechain and that's sending, you can use anything and accept it in the key input. So maybe I don't want to use track spacer. Maybe I want to use Sooth too, right? So here's a tip for you guys when you're making like a fast, like see if I click here, I can see FabFilter and I can see RComp because those are like my fast go-to plugins. If I want to add a new fast go-to plugin, I just hold down Command and then I click here and then I'll go to OEK Sound, right? Go to Sooth 2. And now I'm turning on Sooth 2, but I just added that to my, oh, that didn't work. Hold on. I think I have to do it on a new insert. I'm sorry. So I'm holding down Command, just so you guys know. OEK Sounds, Elemento P. I know my shit. All right, that didn't work either. I don't know why that's not working. Maybe I need to hold down Command after I open this. Let's see. I'm screwing this whole thing up. Nope. All right. Well, fuck it. That's not going to help. All right. So here's how I usually open up plugins, by the way. I just hit Tab right here, and then I'll just go OEK Sooth 2, right? And then you can go bam. So that's the fastest way to do it for me personally. All right. Now, if I want to set this up for just kick drum, and for some reason this made a mono, which is really weird. I don't want to do that. For sure don't want to do that. Okay, so let's go Sooth to stereo. All right, so now if I want to set this up for kick, let's just double click these, get rid of all these, because we don't need any of these besides the low pass, okay? Take the low pass down to what, 300, 400 hertz? Somewhere around there, right? Because you're really just low passing everything for the kick drum. And you can set your dB per octave slope here. Go 24 dB is probably pretty good. And then on the key, you have the duck. Just go duck. And now that's not going to accept the key until you turn on the sidechain. So once I turn on the sidechain, this is now going to be sidechaining every time the kick hits. It's going to duck this 808. And that way I can make the kick big and low endy, and I can also make the 808 big and low end, right? Because now you have right here, if I really kind of zoom in here, let's hit E on the keyboard. You can see like this kick is hitting at the same time as the 808. Okay, so that's going to be a big fluffy ball of distortion, right? Like you're only going to get so much gain if you have everything hitting the low end at once. So as you can see here, this is going to be, and I think this 808 even has like an attack to it. Yeah, so you can see like right here, right? Like look at that. Those are hitting at the exact same time. So you got low end and low end just like right on top of each other. They're just going to all be choking each other out, right? So the way I do that is shoot the duck over to the Sooth 2, give it the sidechain, Go real fast on this on the attack and maybe a little slower on the release, 0.5 or something. And then on here, I'm going to go hard, and I'm just going to let this give some room to the low end every time it hits. Right, so every time that kick hits, it's just going to duck the 808, right? Sidechain compression, very simple, but it's doing it only to the lower frequencies, right? So it's only doing it from 480 down or whatever you want to set this to. This could be at 350. It doesn't really matter. You can adjust the depth, how much you want it, selectivity, the sharpness of it, all that. It's amazing. This is a very magical way of just letting all your low end hit. Okay. Now this kick drum sounds really funky to me. I don't really like the way it sounds. I think it sounds like kind of flammy or something. Let's hear it. Yeah, I might want to hit it with a little compression just to make it a little punchier. It's got a lot of knock to it, but it doesn't have like punch to it. So let's throw an R comp on here, and let's just hit it with like a 3-to-1, 4-to-1. Hit the attack pretty hard, like 60, 70, and then release fairly fast. And then we'll take it to an opto. Okay, that's really not helping it. It just has like a weird knock to it. I don't really like the knock to it, but maybe there's another element that's supposed to be, yeah, there's melody guitars, there's hi-hats, but there's not really another kick element. So that's what we got to deal with. That's the kick drum we were dealt. All right, so some parallel drum compression, going through the drum mix bus, Pro Q3, just doing some of this, right? I think this is fine. We're just gonna have to make this work. And the 808, we just have this. I'm gonna kind of like open this up, see what we have at the top there. And that's going through the drum mix bus, which I don't want to do. I actually want to take this through the bass mix bus, or the bass master bus. So we got bass master, and that way it'll just kind of give it a little bit of a more thickening. So it might be fun to also pump that that synth, that ARP here, when this hits. So what we can do here is just drag down the Soothe 2, right? And we'll just pop it here. And we'll say replace. And then this is going to, every time the kick hits, it's going to just duck any low end this has. So I can actually bring this up, right? So maybe I bring this all the way up to like 900, 800. So it's also getting some of that mid-range in that synth. Yeah, it just kind of helps give it like that EDM pump. It's very, very subtle. You can make it less subtle by opening this up so it's actually ducking everything, right? So if you want to also duck the mid-range of that, it's going to go whap, 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 like it'll start to create a pulse. Now remember, that only happens when the kick drum hits at the same time as that arp. So just kind of give some more room to the kick drum. You could do that on the vocals, right? So that the vocals stay up front, so that the arp, that bop, 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 isn't taking over the fundamental of the vocal. But for the kick, I'm just going to bring it back down to like 500 or so. Just a little bit of clearance in the bottom. Look, this synth probably doesn't even have very much bottom to it, right? If we look at the F6 here, which has like a graphic mode here, we could check it. Okay, this is not the F6 that has the graphic mode on it, so that's not going to help us. But I just like showing people this stuff so they can visually see it as well. I can hear it, but, you know, maybe you can't. Right, so that is fundamentally at 400 hertz. So if we take that and we know that that's at 400 hertz, we could take the Soothe 2 up to, right, 500 or so. And now we're ducking that just a little bit for the kick so that the kick can hit a little bit harder. The release doesn't have to be that long, you know, 1 millisecond, half a millisecond, whatever. Just something to clear some room when that hits. That's going to just save voltage for you at the master. All right, so now we have that up there. Let's start to add all the other elements as well. The next thing to come in is this melodic guitar stuff, which I think is probably the meat and potatoes here. And this is not something we want. Let's just delete that. But all my guitars are usually red, so I just have all my guitars here is red. Let's hear this so we can know what the sound is. Yep, sounds like an arping guitar to me. So I'm going to bring it up to guitar arp here. And this is just going out the instrument mix bus. We'll delete the track that it was on. And let's just blend that into the mix. And we might need some effects because that feels very dry and up front. All right, and that has some low mids to it as well, right? So that has stuff that's like in that 500 area. I can feel it, I can hear it. It probably goes all the way down to like 200 even. So a simple way to tuck this back and make it not so in your face and also kind of take care of some of those low frequencies so that we have more for the kick drum and the 808 and all that. We can go in here and let's just use True Verb. And the only reason I'm using True Verb is because I have like a very simple preset that I use all the time on True Verb that just is just like set up perfectly for tucking synths back. And this is just using early reflections to tuck it back. But watch what it does on the Pro Q3. Watch what it does to the frequencies, right? Like you remember this had like 90 hertz in it, right? Watch what happens now. Right? It's still there, but it's like tucked back in dimension. So it's not so in your face. It doesn't jump out of the speakers as much and feel so upfront, right? So we're just tucking the guitar back with that True Verb because we're using early reflections. So the early reflections here, you have at 17.25 distance, which I think is in feet probably. And then the room size and then the dimension. And you can change all that. And then you can blend the early reflections, turn them on and off. The reverb tail, right? So all I'm doing is giving it some early reflections and a little bit of reverb tail. And to just like solo this out so you can really hear the difference A being between the True Verb early reflections and with and without, you'll hear exactly what it's doing. allows that arping synth to be much more up front and the electric guitar to be kind of behind it, right? So that's where you get dimension. That's where you get that front to back, that space. It's not just by drowning it in reverb tail, right? And that's the way I would do it. So this also feels like it gets really loud here, this arp. And I don't think that's really necessary for the track. I feel like it's like kind of a little much. So let's fix that. Let's see what we can do here. And let's also bounce the reference and see how loud he has it in this mix. I mean, it's pretty damn loud in his mix, so I'm going to keep it where it's at. You know, something that may give it a little more interest in this part is to have it panning subtly from left to right. I need something because that's going to drive me fucking nuts. I don't know about you guys, but that bang, 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 it's like, stop, right? So I'm going to just use like Pan Man. So Pan Man is just by Sound Toys. You can find plenty of auto panners. Don't at me on this shit. Oh, Pan Man, you know, there's a free one that's blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. Just use whatever you want to use. It doesn't matter to me. All right, so this is just going to auto pan it. The song is at 120, so we're good there. Let's go like every 2 bars. That's fine. And then let's listen to this kind of panning subtly. So much better, right? Like it's just a little bit of movement sometimes makes things so much more palatable and enjoyable to listen to, right? Like without that, it just gets a little unbearable. So that's a little tip, you know, panning, volume changes, sweeping, filtering, things like that can really help the ear get less fatigued, right, with the sound. All right, so now let's start adding the other drums because we have this snare here, and I think this is an integral part with the hi-hats. So the snare, let's bring it up here. Let's pop it. You know, we got a clap track here, so let's use this. Let's duplicate it. And again, not the active playlist. And then we're going to have this clap duplicate, and we're going to call this snare. You know, don't overcomplicate mixing. Just get shit going and tweak as you go, right? It's very modular. You don't want to set a sound and forget it. Right? Same thing with the hi-hat. You have a hi-hat track here. There's a hi-hat down here that needs to be popped in. So here it is. Let's get these, all these playing nicely together. So just bada bam and delete that. And then this hi-hat I have just Pro Q3. Obviously, I was working on a hi-hat that had a real issue at 7K. I'm just going to bypass that. That's not necessary. And then I usually will high pass my hi-hats, but it really depends on the sound of the hi-hat. Usually around, you can go up to like 300 or so, 350, and you're great. Like you don't need anything down there for a hi-hat. And then I have the PS22 spreader and I have the AIR chorusing. Sometimes that helps give a little bit of a vibe to a hi-hat. And here I'm just going to chop that and I'm going to give it a fade. And let's just listen to all these together, drums coming in here. So I'm not going to hit that snare as hard with the compression. I just kind of took that down a little bit. I want to open it up on the attack. And then I have an EQ here. I don't think I need that. I'm good with that high pass. That's cool. SPL transient, don't want that on there. And then the lo-fi, don't need it. And the PSP, I don't think I'll need the spreader. I might need the spreader or the chorusing on the hi-hats. I just want to AB them, just check them out, right? Like, why not? See what happens, right? So let's pop on the chorus and let's see what this does. For the hi-hats, might give them a little bit more like swimminess. So I actually think that that snare has just like a little bit too much body over here, right? Like our low end or something. All right, and that kick's getting pretty boisterous, so we got to just kind of tame that motherfucker down. When everything's hitting at once, you can hear like, oh shit, we're starting to clip a little bit, right? So you just have to pay attention, like what's coming in here. These claps, like I think they're on top of the kick. They're doing the same thing as the kick, like here, right? So we don't want all that information hitting at once. And when it does, just make sure that things have their place, right? So for example, this clap here, it may need a little less body, a little less oomph to it, right? So let's just bring this Pro Q3 down here, and let's see what we got going on in this area, like down here, right? Just check out what's going on in the clap here.
There isn't somebody else when I look at it too. There isn't somebody else. There isn't somebody. There isn't somebody. I wanna look at it too. There isn't somebody else.
Yeah, I still hate that kick, but it's okay. I mean, I'm not the producer on this. I am going to just kind of stifle it just a touch because it's getting a little boisterous. So we're just going to kind of take it down. No makeup gain. We're just going to kind of choke it down just a touch. Yeah, let's just kind of, we're going to turn it down with compression. Hopefully give it a little different knock to it. Just change it up a little bit.
There isn't somebody else when I look at it too. There isn't somebody else.
right? Just kind of makes that, tames the kick drum a little bit, because the kick drum's like getting pretty out of control right there. It's just, it's like with this beautiful soft voice, like it's not really necessary. I mean, you could also just turn the fucking kick drum down, right? Like bypass the compressor. I think a lot of times we get a little bit like, oh, we got to add a plug-in, man. You got to compress, and then you got to add a saturator. You got to do this, you got to do that, and you got to do all this shit to make that kick drum work. And it's like, maybe you just need to turn it down. So I'm going to actually clip gain it down, you know, because this is going to be before the Pro Q3. Just gain down the sample, like 1.8 dB. Simple, right? Turn it down. Like, it sounds so much better. I'm like, you gotta saturate, you gotta comp it, you gotta EQ it with fab filter, you gotta use a multi-band. Dude, I got a new plugin, it does this. It's like, I don't know. How about we turn that shit down? All right, now it's turned down. It sounded good. All right, cool. Also, it's got like parallel compression going here, like API hitting this shit. You know, it's got all sorts of stuff that it's really hitting. You can also like bring up the parallel compression just to give it more body and punch if you wanted to. Just as an example, we can automate it up. Right, like parallel compression is sounding a lot more musical on this kick drum. So let's just go whoop right here and let's give it a little bump. That's all we need, right? Bring it up to what were we at? Like -3 or -2, somewhere around there, right? And just on that kick drum part, and same thing here. So just pop, pop, pop. And you might want to change it just a touch more. Like maybe this gets a little louder on the second section. Give yourself some differences in your track, so it's just a lot more fun that way. All right, and now we have the kick like conserves its feeling and its sound, but it's not clipping out, and the parallel compression is adding low-level information and kind of making it a little bit thicker. Right, and there's not much you want to do with that 808. Like I don't feel like, oh man, I need to duplicate that and saturate it, and like it already has saturation to it. It's already doing what it needs to do. It doesn't need to be compressed. Like the 808 sounds great. Also, remember we're going through a bass master bus here, and this is already adding a lot of stuff. The R bass is adding harmonics above 80. The Shadow Hill is adding harmonics. The black box is adding harmonics, saturation. The R comp is just kind of controlling everything. So that's another thing. Let's make sure on this R comp we're not doing more than 1 to 2 dB of compression, because that'll kind of choke things out a little too much. Way better already, right? Just like loosening up on the compression. So that's an important part. Compression can sometimes choke out your low end. It can like take the sub and just fucking choke it, right? So you don't want that. Sometimes you want to make sure that that's more open. I'm going to loosen up on the attack as well, because, you know, we'll get more punch and we'll get more openness out of it. Yeah, so the 808 just like gained probably like half a dB of sub, like all the sub kind of came back together. So don't compress your sub too much. That's a big no-no. You know, unless you're doing like old school 90s boom bap hip hop where the sub is just rolled off because it is compressed so hard, right? So keep it open. I think keep it open most of the time. So that's what I'm doing there. And then that's going to the all drums bus. And the all drums bus, all drums and bass is getting this kind of vibe. So it's already got tons of low end, as you can tell. We like ducked a lot of low end, right? And then it has the standard clip adding some soft saturation. So nothing crazy here. It's just adding soft saturation. Yeah, it sounds musical, sounds modern when you kind of soft clip it. It just feels like a little bit more, you know, a little bit more fuzzy and a little bit more, you know, ready for 2024. You know, not too clean. This shit can't be like pristine clean. Then it just kind of sounds silly. Sounds contrived and goofy, you know. So drum fill. We got a drum fill here. I'm just going to pop these in. This doesn't need to be like, you don't need to spend 8 hours on a drum fill. Let's listen to it here. And just pop it in. Yeah, nothing crazy here. This just, honestly, like, what I do with like a drum fill like this is just route it through the drum mix bus, right? It already is going to get a bunch of love just from doing that. And then gain it into the mix. Make sure you add the color, right? So it's in your drum vibe. And make sure you bounce it back into the mix and should be good. Starts to feel like a lot of his stuff is hanging right, and I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because, you know, his speakers or something is weird, but if you notice in all of these sounds, like the right channel is heavier, right? Even on this, you can see the right is like cranked up a little bit and it's clipped out. I don't know why that is. But if you want to have it not so right heavy, just kind of bring the right channel in a little bit, right? Like 78. Let's try that out. Just makes a world of a difference just to like kind of, so it doesn't feel like you have this weird drum fill really right. It should just be like, like it should be more in the center, right? So that's all I did, just kind of tuck the right channel in a little bit, and feels like it sits better to me. All right, and let's add the other stuff, because that's not something I'm going to spend a bunch of time on. Very simple. And then we have another drum off snare. I don't know what that is. Don't really care too much about this stuff. I do care about like the more rhythm heavy stuff, like where you have a drum playing the whole time, like the claps here, these claps, the hi-hats, this drum snare, it looks like these are all a whole new drum part. Lots of drums in this. So let's just pop stuff in. Let's get these things going. Drum off snare. I'm imagining this is just like another fill or something similar to it. So same thing, just pop it through the drum mix bus and give it a listen. You know, don't overcomplicate certain things. Like, you don't need to put a plugin on it. You just need to listen to it and see if it fits in the mix. And if it's combating something, then you should figure out your tool you're going to use for it. Right, simple little ghost note roll thing, nothing crazy. And you notice again, it's hanging right. Everything I'm noticing like that he's putting in is hanging right here. I mean, you can even see it like not clipping, because yellow's not clipping in Pro Tools, but it's getting up there, right? So we probably want to just tuck this as well, like go 78 or so, 78, 80. Just keep that in a little. And there's no vocal or anything competing there, so just perfect, you know? If you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments as I'm going, obviously. Don't feel like you have to just sit there and listen. Okay, And then drums clap, snare panned, claps, hats. Like this is all just drum stuff. Let's bring it all up there. Let's start popping all this in. We got drums, claps, more claps. Lots of claps in this track, guys. Someone got real clap happy. We got clappy, slappy, pappy. All right, so let's just duplicate this motherfucker and bada bam. And a lot of times when you're mixing, this is kind of how it works. You just start putting things together and then, you know, you're like, oh, and then pop that in and do that and then do that. And it should be fun. It should be like you're just like flowing and just doing stuff. You shouldn't have to think too much about mixing. You should just be kind of, you know, having fun and putting the palette together. Well, that'll make your ears ring. Not really sure about this one. It's just like a clap layer. Probably want to tuck it pretty far. It's just like a high-end thing. All right, so just kind of like adding a texture. I feel like it's like a noise, you know what I mean? Like just when you have like a noise, white noise or pink noise on a synth, it's just kind of adding a texture. That's how I'm going to treat it because it's really could get annoying.
There isn't somebody else when I wanna look at it too. There isn't.
All right, so I'm going to show you a trick. I kind of want to push this up, right? So above the vocal. The way I would do that is I use the Oxford inflator. I think it's really good for that. So like, for example, I'll just use the inflator direct. And what I'll do here is I'll pop the effect at 100 and I'll take this curve down. And this usually will like push the harmonics up top, which helps it push it high, right? Like into the tweeters. So check this out.
There isn't somebody else when I wanna look at it too. There isn't somebody else. There isn't somebody else when I wanna look at it too.
It's kind of doing it. Not really, not much. It's probably more about just like letting the high end be really filtered out.
Look at it too. There isn't somebody else. There is. There isn't somebody else.
All right, so that's where I'm going to leave that. I just don't know if that's a really great arrangement decision from the producer, to be honest with you. I think that's like a kind of a throwaway. So we're gonna leave it at that because it's like, you know, it's not my song. So that's what I'm going to do with that. Snare panned. This is just like a snare. I imagine that's like panning. Let's go to the snare track here, And we will duplicate this and pop this in. Hopefully you guys getting a lot out of these kind of live streams. Obviously, this is just me working. It's not anything crazy. I'm not going to sit here and like give you the massive tips, game changer tips to make your mixes blow up, bro. You know, these are just techniques and stuff I use every day. So here's the snare. Let's pop this.
There isn't somebody else. When alone, look at it too. There isn't somebody else. There isn't somebody else. When alone, look at it too. There isn't somebody else. There isn't somebody else. When alone, look at it too. There isn't somebody else. When alone, look at it too.
So as you notice, when I go back to the reference, it's like super clipped out, right? It's just distorted. It's literally clipping. Like, look at the master, right? It's got the red going. So that's like over clipping, like, right? Just snares hitting everywhere. So I'm trying to avoid that. There's just a lot of high end, a lot of transients in this part. And I also think that it's kind of stepping on the vocals. So I'm trying to make sure that my shit doesn't do that. So that's the idea that I have right here.
There isn't somebody else. When alone, look at it too. There isn't somebody.
Right? So that's great. I think we're doing great. One thing I do want to do is adjust the Avalon and bring in a little bit more of that 500 because I think we swept out just a touch too much. And I also want to go in on this BX Digital V3 and make sure we're not, yeah, we should be good here. I kind of want to like bring in a little bit more into the sides here and give it a little bit more stereo width. Not much, 114%. Limitless, we're ducking that 319. I think we can bring that up just a little bit. And everything else looks really spot on. Yeah. Okay, cool. And then Oxford Inflator, I think that's great. Everything feels good to me. Maybe bringing in more of the sub here. Yep. I think that's going to be a good move. So bring in a little bit more of the sub. So we're not filtering out the sub, which I'll go down to like 20, 24, somewhere like that.
There isn't somebody else. When alone, look at it too. There isn't somebody else. There isn't somebody else. When alone, look at it too. There isn't somebody else.
All right, that's feeling a lot better, right? Like I'm just bringing some of the mid-range back and some of the low end back. I like the subby stuff. I think that feels really good. You use parallel compression on drums? Yeah. I mean, usually just the kick and snare, to be honest with you. So I have my parallel compression. I have a lot of parallel stuff going on the drums. The drum mix bus, the drum master bus, these are all parallel, right? Lots of parallel stuff going on. So let's see, black box, parallel, right? We're mixing in 80% there. So just like listen to drums without this and you just hear it kind of drop off a cliff. All right, that's how you get the drums hitting. That's how you get the harmonics. Yeah, lots of parallel. Everything's parallel. Let's see, what else? Let's grab the other stuff down here. It's got the more claps. You know what? I don't think we got enough claps, you guys. Let's add some more claps. I'm just making fun blues beats, but yeah, we're going crazy with the claps, bro. Bring in the claps. All right, let's duplicate this clap track and let's blend these in. More claps, more claps. What else do we need? We need more claps. What does this track need? Claps. What does it need more of? More claps. So these are cool because they have more depth to them, which is dope. So what I'm trying to do is push that 500 area, 600 area into the sides. And listen to what this does. It really gives the claps more dimension and more depth. And that's the idea here. And then we're going to blend these in. Yeah, these drums are heavy right here, so we just got to be a little bit careful. What's on your master? You can go back on the other streams. I've talked about my master a million times. Yeah, there's another stream I did, part 1 of this, where I went through everything on this. Okay, so just go tap in on that. I don't want to bore the people that have like already heard me go through my master chain a million times. All right, I'm gonna hit a save, Command S on this bitch, and let's get the rest of this going on. Literally all we have left is like impacts and rides and all this shit. That's not even really that important. It just needs to be balanced into the mix. Hi-hats though, this will be a big one right here. Bring these in, pop them where the other hi-hats were. I think we got a chain here. And I'll probably put the hi-hats above just so I can make sure that I know. Yeah, here they are. So we'll go right-click, duplicate, bada bam, hit enter, okay. Hi-hat, bam. Pop these here. Delete that one. I'm just going to start just grabbing all these stems. I don't need to listen to every single one of these. Drums ride. So this looks like a reverse ride kind of effect thing. I have all my effects stuff and risers and everything right up here. I'm just going to pop this on the fill track, right? And I'm going to call this ride. Bada bam. Delete this one. We're going to pop all these in. We're going to listen. We're going to pop them into the mix. Make sure everything fits nice. Here's an impact. We got a riser. The impact, we're going to put it right where the other risers are. So right here. This could actually go right on this drum fill track because it's empty. And then riser, or impact, sorry. Bam. And I'm just looking like, okay, that's at -3.2. It's going through the drum mix bus. Great. If we need to change it, we'll change it. That's a sub drop too. So let's actually take that through. Anything that's sub or low, really low, I'm going to take through my bass master bus, okay? So the difference is like we're not going through a mix chain with this. We just have R bass, shadow hills, gate to gate out noise, black box, and R comp at 4:1, okay? So that's different than the drum mix master bus, okay? So just a little different, not much. Effects riser, another one of these. We got 2 effects risers. Let's just grab all these. Grab these bastards and bring them up here. Here we go. Here we go. Effects right here. So we got another riser here. All we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this motherfucker. We're going to do 2. Bam. And we're going to bring these guys up. Right? Now we got our risers. We're good. Delete these. So this is why I use a template. Like, you want to be able to just go bam, bam, bam. All the routing's already decided. You know, you're good to go. And then you can mess with the sounds however you want to mess with them. Like, you know, a lot of people think that if you use a mix template, the most ridiculous thing I ever hear is like people dropping comments that don't mix for a living. They don't even know how to mix. They're like, oh, I've been mixing for a year or 2, you know? And they drop comments like, you shouldn't use a mix template, or not everybody uses a mix template. And it's like, yeah, not everybody uses a mix template. Totally agree with that. Not everybody that is making a living with music or professionally doing this uses a mix template. But anybody that's doing this professionally uses a mix template. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. All right. So if you think that you're a unique bird, that your mix is going to go through a completely different, brand new, from scratch Pro Tools session where someone's going to route it from scratch. They're going to put everything together from scratch for you because your song is so unique. You're fucking crazy. You are absolutely crazy. Like, your song's not unique. These songs have claps. They have kick drums. They have sampled kick drums. They have 808s. They have female vocals. Like, why would I make a whole new fucking session for something that literally is in like 98% of songs? So, you know, the uniqueness in the mix does not come from using different plugins every time. It comes from you using a template because you're a mixing engineer. You have your palette and you know how to use the tools that you're using. A carpenter doesn't go, oh, I'm going to go fix this house. I need to go get 7 new saws because it's a new house. But I need to get whole new Phillips head screwdrivers and flathead screwdrivers because I'm working on a new house. I got to get all my tools from scratch. It's fucking stupid. You guys just think about when you make stupid comments. Like, really think about it. Like, what am I saying? Do I know what I'm saying? Probably not. If you don't know what you're saying, don't leave the comment. Or ask a question, right? Like, I don't go into a room where everyone's better than me and be like, that's stupid. Why would you do that? You know, I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. Why are you doing that? Like, I want to learn about that. Why did you use the template? What do you do with your template? How do you use your template? What's in your template? That's what I'd be asking. I want to be saying, not everyone uses a template. Start arguing with people that do this for a living. Like, you don't do this shit. So if you don't do it, ask fucking questions. And if you do it, but you want to be doing it better, then ask questions. But, you know, it's just funny. Like, people get in the comments and they just say stupid shit. You're like, oh yeah, you're right. I should just make a whole new session for every single song I ever mix. Every song is so unique. You need to use all new everything for every song. Come on. Kind of shit are you smoking, man? All right. But yeah, if you don't know something, it's okay to be like, I don't know something. I have a question. I ask questions more than you guys would ever even believe. I fucking bug people because I ask too many questions. You know what I mean? Like, and I sit there and I observe and I try to learn from people that do this better than me. That's the name of the game. Not to argue with people that do this better than you. All right, let me see. You mixing headphones? That's fine. No budget for monitoring rooms. Yeah, well, I've heard that a million times. All right, so I'm going to pop this in. Pad Melody Omni Synth. All right, let's check this out. I don't think this is a pad, but, you know. So it's crazy, like right off the bat, the audio is actually clipping, right? So best thing about Pro Tools, like one of the best things is the clip gain, right? Right here, you just beep, 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 and we can gain that down and we can get it to not clip. Okay, it does have like a pluck attack to it, so it does kind of sound like it's clipping. I don't know if that's true or not. I would have to actually look at the waveform and look at the peaks and the tops, but I'm sure it is. You know, a lot of the tracks in what I'm mixing on this one are clipping, or they're clipped out, right? So you could see this one's not too bad, but you can see the tops are shaved, right? See that? Took a little clip. Clippity clip, clip, clippity clip. Everybody clipping their sounds. So try not to clip your shit and then send those to your mix engineer, because you're losing transients, and transients are life. And when you start to clip out the transients, then you're taking the life away from the mix. And you're also tying the hands of your mixing, mastering engineers, right? And then you get it back and it sounds like shit. Yeah, it's your fault. You blame everything on everyone else like shit. Don't clip out your shit, right? All right, so this is like a pluck. It's not a pad, so I'm just gonna put pluck here. And I think this actually sounds pretty good. It just might be getting in the way of something else in the low end, so let's check. Yeah, so you see all that low end build up there? Like, there's no reason why this should have, 12 hertz in it, right? That's like where all the sub is. So I'm just gonna bring it all the way up. You don't need any of this. None of this is serving that sound. You're not hearing it at all. It's just clogging everything up. A clipper can save a lot of headroom. All right, whatever you say, Jojo. All right, so let's sweep that out. All right, so that's kind of cool. I think that's actually a pretty good balance. You can add more room, space around that if you wanted to, but I'm going to take my cue from the reference and just kind of listen to how loud he has that. Whoo! He's got that real loud. The radium particle, I like that. That's what I need to make. I need to make a radium particle plugin. You're talking about the God particle, but I like the tone of radium particle. That's way better, bro. Or Gil. Jill or Gil. Okay, so here we go. Now we're at a point where we got everything in, right? Besides, oh, here we go. One last thing here. One last little guy. Let's hear it. All right, big piano stab at the end. Let's bring this up to our instruments. And yeah, I think this will go here. Bada bam. We'll put it under sounds 1 and go piano. And then delete this guy. And then we're gonna have all of our elements in. This is where we get really nitpicky about specific things, right? And about getting the sound of the record tied together. All right, so we just add a little reverb. I think I'm going to get rid of this PSP spreader. I don't think that's serving it. And let's also listen to how loud he has that in his reference mix. Always important to bounce to the reference. Always check the reference. Yeah, it's pretty low, right? Like, it's kind of tucked. It's just like a little stinger at the end. Probably for like sync licensing purposes. All right, now I'm going to take it from the top. We're going to go to like where the vocals come in. I think the vocals are the most important part of most every song. Not every song, but most every song. So hopefully you guys don't sit there and argue with me in the comments about that. But just pay attention to like, you know, what I'm trying to get across to you guys. I know there's a lot of people, you know, in this chat right now that, you know, I mean, you let me know. Let me know how long have you been mixing? Have you been mixing for 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, 10 years or more? Like, let me know in the chat. I want to know who I'm talking to, so I know what kind of information I should be kind of helping you guys with. So I have some reverbs here, okay? So this is part of my template. I have a rap verb, which is typically what I use on rappers, right? Like I'll use this for space. I'll use this for dimension. I don't use this to hear it, okay? And that's the R verb with the center, okay? Sometimes I use altiverb, okay? For that rap verb. I have the reverb, which is going to be the, I don't have that one because that's not actually in my template. I don't even know what that is. This has the real verb though. I do use this one every once in a while. So I like this real verb. I think this sounds really good. It's kind of a brighter reverb for the reverb 2 here. I'm actually not going to use that, but I'm just showing you that in my template. Then I got the fattening, which is going to widen right at the middle. I have the delays. I have 2 delays here. I have a mod delay and I have an H delay. Okay, so 16th notes, and then this one is set at quarter notes. So, you know, just different vibes here that I can send to and I can blend to or I can throw to or whatever. I have a vocal parallel compressor. All my stuff like in teal is going to be effects throws and effects sends. So 33609, really nice mid-range, and then the Pro Q3 just literally pushing the mid-range. That's what the vocal P comp is doing, giving body. Vocal bus, okay, so this is like a vocal mix bus. Got a de-esser, Spectre, 33609. Okay, and then I also have the 660 if I need it, more color, saturation from the tubes. Also, it's just like kind of a warm vocal thing. Okay. Let me see here. You bounce all your MIDI clips in audio or this the client stems. This is the client track outs. So I didn't produce this at all. This is from Blizz Beats. I don't know who the female is on it, but yeah, all stems from them. More into sound design. Nice. Yeah, I love sound design, man. Obviously, like you know, I got synths everywhere. You know what I mean? Been sound designing for over 20 years. But you know, mixing is part sound design. You know, that's kind of what we're doing a lot of the times. Okay, and then I have what else we got? This is a melody guitar, so I need to actually color this red because that's gonna fuck me up. All right, and then what I like to do also is like color all the tracks the same as the track color. So you can go here, go to clips and track and make those red. It just makes it easy for you to find stuff. Like a lead vocal is gonna be hot pink. All vocals are gonna be hot pink for me. Don't ask me why. It's just over time, you know, that's just what I see as vocals, like hot pink. Used to be like a Mountain Dew yellow that I used to do, but now I do that with either synths or I do that with like master buses and stuff like that. But looks like in this session I'm doing with synths. So clips and track, bam, color them all the same. This is really easy for me to navigate because I could see the green and I'm like, oh, those are synths. Those are all synth tracks. And then I just kind of clean up, get rid of anything I'm not using. You know, vocal chops. I can just make an active on this because I might use it. I might pull things down to it. This has like sweep John. I don't know what these are. Delete them, right? This is not being used. Guitar bell, there's nothing on it. Delete it. This not being used, delete it. So just save resources wherever you can after you've added everything to the template. You have an impact here, delete it. Drum parallel comp, that's going to be the API 2500, the Pro Q3. Yeah, everything else is drums. There's a lot of drums in this and impacts, right? So we know there's a lot of claps. I'm giving you a hard time, Blizz Beats, but there are way too many claps in this shit. All right, and then let's color all these clips and tracks, make them all orangey brown color, so I know exactly where the drums are. Bass master, yellow. Drum mix bus in this same orange. Drum mix, master bus. Drum mix bus goes to drum master bus. And then we have the all buses, which are all in green. And then we have the master augs. So right now I'm going to go to like some of the loudest parts in the session. And I'm going to start to tweak and get the sound of things. Meaning like the overall level, the overall LUFs, you know, LUFs, whatever you want to call them, you know. I'm going to try to get to this 808 part. I think this is a good part to mess with, but there's no vocals there. So I want to go to maybe this part where it's really heavy on vocals.
I like the smell and the smell tattoo. Oh, blue, just what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like the smell and the smell tattoo. What I need to. I like the smell and the smell tattoo. Oh, blue, just what a perfect look.
All right, so I'm just kind of starting to listen. I'm like, okay, these claps are all over this vocal in the high top stuff. So you have like this kind of airiness to the vocal, right? And that airiness to the vocal is up here in that high stuff, right? So why would I want the claps going all over that? Right? So just to show you what that is and where I'm listening, my ear and where that's going is if I go to the vocal bus, right? So let's go to the Vox bus. So here's the Vox bus here. And I'm going to actually color this hot pink so it's easier for me to find. If I go to the Vox bus and I go, let's just add a Pro Q3 here. And I show you where the air is on the vocal.
I like the smell and the smell tattoo. Oh, just what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like the smell and the smell tattoo. Oh, just what a perfect look.
All right, you hear that? That's all like, yeah, it's like 7K, 5 to 7K, 5 to 8K. That's where all this vocal like has this air to it. So you got claps going on top of that. It's just like, why? You know what I mean? So a lot of, when you're like not understanding mixing, you have to think about when you take something out of something, you're adding it somewhere else. If you add something, you're taking it out of something else. That's just the way it works, especially when you go to a master bus processing and limiting and all that stuff. So when I go to the Pro Q3 here, and you know, the typical thing for a lot of mixers would be, oh, I need to add this to the vocal, right? I need to do this. I'm going to add this top thing to the vocal. Okay, so what you just did is you added 4 dB of high end to the vocal. That's also adding, like, you're stacking that on top of the clap high end, on top of anything else that has high end. So now when it hits your master bus or any processing on your subgroups, you're just hitting the compressors and the EQs and everything else, the saturation, with this boosted, a bunch of gain of a bunch of top end. It's going to make your shit sound crazy, right? So instead of adding, you want to find room, right? So take it out of something else. Now, you could do that a lot of ways. You could go in and you could start EQing these claps. You could be like, oh, I need to go to this and just start dipping out all these frequencies. You'll notice I only am using the mid, right? So this is the middle channel where the vocal is the most present, is in the middle. Now, to prove that to you, where does the vocal sit? It sits in the middle, right? To prove that to you, I'm going to go to the BX Digital on the master bus, and we're going to go to the middle channel, the middle, okay? This is the mono section, the directly in the middle, and I'm going to sweep through that 7K area, and you're going to hear the vocal, and you're going to hear the claps, and you're going to hear whatever else is in the middle.
I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue, just what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I
All right, do you hear those claps just going with that vocal? It's crazy, right? So maybe you want the claps to still be bright, right? But you don't want them on top of that vocal. Never, ever. There's barely ever an instance where that's going to be what you want to do, right? So what I'm going to do here is two things. I'm going to make room for the vocals no matter what. So that's very, very important. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do with the claps is go to the Pro Q3, and I'm going to go into the middle, and I'm going to duck that area. Now I can make this also dynamic. So I can go, okay, let's make this dynamic. When there's too much of that, every time the clap hits, it's just going to choke it down a little bit, right? So we're not going to lose a lot of the tone of the claps, because we'll still have it in the sides of the claps, you know, and these claps have reverb on them and everything, right? So if I solo out the clap, you'll hear the reverb. But that's all in the middle, that like, that tons of shit there, right? So there's just a lot of stuff there, right? So I'm just going to kind of tuck that down. I'm not going to go crazy. This is the same thing as dynamic EQing. This is multi-band compression. You're just getting specific on an EQ, right? It's the same thing, all right? Just if you guys don't understand that, that's what this is. All right, so you're like, oh, you need to use a multi-band compressor. That's what I'm doing, right? But I'm only doing it in the middle. Now, if you're like, okay, but now I miss the crispiness of the claps. Okay, well, the cool thing about this EQ and some other EQs like it is you can literally come in here. Let's get rid of that. You can come in here and you can double click, and it's going to make a new point. And you can take this point and make it in the sides. And then I can start to push that same frequency in the sides, but dip it in the middle. Sometimes you get some phasing issues with this, but for the most part, this tends to work pretty well. So listen to what this does, and I'll bypass it in and out so you can really hear it. But we'll get the claps more bright in the sides, but we'll take it out of the middle. You know, Waves has like center plugin where you can dip the center. It's the same idea. All right, it's pretty subtle because there's not a whole lot of stereo information. Okay, so that's not really going to help that much. All right, so this is getting a little bit too much for me. I don't like this idea, so I'm going to get rid of it. But again, this is like what mixing is about. You try something and then you're like, it's not going to work, right? So, but this works. I want to duck that middle, right? So that's great. I love that. The other thing I would do, remember, we want the vocals to be on top no matter what. I don't give a fuck what happens. The vocals need to be on top. They are everything. They are the track, okay? So let's go to the vocal bus here, okay? And from here, we need to show our other sends. We have A through E here. Right click up here, we'll see F through J. Now I'm going to send from the vocal bus where all the vocals are going, right? I'm going to send from that bus to a new track. I mean, it doesn't need to be a new track, but basically what I want to do is I want to make a send from here. So we can even say side comp because we already have it. Cool, side comp. All right, option click so it goes 100% to the side comp bus. All right, make sure you don't have side comp returning somewhere. For example, like it's not coming up here like side comp, and I don't see it anywhere. So it's like an unused bus. And another way you can tell if it's an unused bus is if you go in here and it's white and not yellow. If it's yellow, it's being used, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. So on just side comp, I'm gonna use that bus because I can use it. It's open. So sending 100% to side comp, okay? Don't get confused by that. That's just me sending a copy of the vocal mix bus somewhere. It's nowhere to be found right now. It's out in outer space. But I'm going to pick it up. And I'm going to pick it up over here on all instruments and on all drum and bass. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to pick it up with, you could use Soothe, you could use whatever you want to do, but I'm going to use the track spacer, and I'm going to leave this default right here, and I'm going to make it, I'm going to click on this little circle. I'm going to attack quicker, right? Like maybe, yeah, somewhere around there. And I'm going to release pretty quick too. Now the trick here is I'm going to go like maybe a ratio of like 5 or so. Just, this is a starting point, right? But wide open. There's no filtering. I'm not filtering the bottom, I'm not filtering the top. Now I'm going to option drag that down to the all drums and bass as well. And I'm going to go to the side chain EQ, or the side chain bus here, and I'm going to pick that side comp. Okay. Now we know we're sending that from the vocal bus. So when the vocal bus is sending to the key input here, it's going to duck anything that is in the way of the vocals on the all instruments and the all drums bass and bass bus. Okay. That's where those claps are showing up too. Remember. All right. So go here and we go to the side comp. All right. Now watch what happens to vocals.
I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new.
All right, there you go. That's now your vocals, when they hit, they're going to duck those frequencies on the all drums and bass. When the vocals hit, they're going to drop all those frequencies on the all instruments. The vocals will be front and center. They're going to take up a lot more space, okay? That's very, very important. And then when those things aren't happening, like when the vocal's not happening, all the drums, bass, instruments, they all come back up to normal level, right? Very, very important. So I hope that makes sense to you. That's kind of the way to do it, right? When would you want to use mid-side EQ? When something is in the way of something in the middle and you don't want to affect the sides, right? Or like it's all depending on source material. So the vocal is typically going to be in the center. The kick drum is typically going to be in the center. The snare is typically going to be in the center, right? So if you got a snare, kick, and a vocal all in the center, right? And then you add a synth and it's in the center, right? And you want it in the center. Maybe it's an 808 or something, right? But then you have this low vocal and the low vocal comes in. Like you want that low vocal to take over some of that frequency in the 808, but only in the middle because there's no information on the sides, right? Sometimes you want to push things out into the sides, right? You have a synth and you're like, man, I don't want to just like pan that synth. I like how the synth is stereoed out, but the middle information is getting chunky or it's getting too mid-range heavy. Okay, well just dip the mid-range of that synth just in the middle channel, but you're not dipping the mid-range of the synth in the sides. Because the mid-range in the synth, that 500 to 2K, might be really nice in the sides where it's spread out, but in the middle, it's right on top of the vocal. That's when you'd use mid-side EQ. Aren't you expanding upward on that frequency? No. What do you got here? Hey, really love your content. I have one question, that is how you control your background vocals so they don't add harshness to the whole mix when you add them. So Sergio, it's hard to say that without hearing what you're talking about with the harshness. Try de-essing the vocals. Harshness is a lot of the times found in those S's, right? That sibilance. Harshness can be a lot in the 2K area. So be really aware of like 2K to 4K. Like I hate 4K, you know, I just don't like that frequency very much. I don't like 2K either. I don't like 1.8. Like 1.8 is really just really obnoxious to me. And I'll show you what I mean. If I go to the master bus here, like I'll show you what 1.8 sounds like. You know, so let's go like 1.8, like right in here, 1.8 to 2.5, just really obnoxious. You know, it helps intelligibility, but if you have too much of it, everything sounds super harsh. It's really annoying.
I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue, just what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you.
Right, so that frequency can really build up. That shit can get really annoying in a lot of tracks. And a lot of people boost the shit out of that. Don't ask me why. They may be hard of hearing, I think. So hopefully that helps. Daft Punk, baby. Yeah, you're welcome, man. I got this candle. It's really nice. You got to have a candle burning when you're mixing. So nice. Lavender vanilla. All right, so I need to turn off the sound of the comments because it's fucking up my shit. Give me a second here. It's like every time a comment comes up, it goes bloop, like it gives a sound from the comments, but it also like fucks up my Pro Tools if you guys notice. It gives me a buffer error. It's really weird. I'm like, why is it doing that? And then I just realized, oh, it's because the sounds. So let me find where I can turn that off. Mute movie sound on speakers. Use only when the mix audio. I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure this out. Sure. Yeah, it's weird. It's like it goes like bloop, and then like Pro Tools like takes a shit. No bueno. Mute movie sound on speakers. I don't know. That's not it. Map info, mic delay. All right. Well, I guess I can't figure that out. Lower music and movie sound. Should be super easy to turn that off. All right. Either way. All right, so now we're at a point where I want to get like everything glued together. I want to listen. I'm just listening. Like super important that you listen. A lot of people just like to move and do stuff, and it's like, why are you doing shit, right? You don't even know why you're doing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bounce back and forth from the reference to my mix, and I'm going to go, how can we beat the shit out of this reference? That's the idea, right?
I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue, just what a perfect look. Don't wanna go. I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue, just what a perfect look. I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue, just what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue, just what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new.
All right, so right away I'm hearing in the reference like certain balances that I need to fix. There's that secondary clap that comes in. Clap, clap. Like that's like not coming through. And I think it's this one here. Maybe. And there's so many claps. Let's find out.
I like the smell and the small tattoo. I like the smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue, just what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to.
All right, so we got that back. Great. It's like really important, I think, to the mix. All right, we got a lot more dimension, a lot more width, a lot less like weird buildup in the low mids, which I'm hearing a lot of in his mix. So like when I listen to the reference, like listen to the low mids, it's just like very like a lot of that rumbling, which is clipping out, you know.
multitude. Oh, blue dance. I like your smell and the smell I do. Oh, blue dance, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to do.
Okay, so that's sounding good to me. I think right now I want to mess around with kind of bypassing some of these. Like, let's see what the gold clip is adding or taking away from the mix.
I like your smell and the smell I do. Oh, blue dance, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need
Yeah, I really like what that's doing. It's just kind of bringing everything to glue. It's also bringing the low end up, like the body and the sub stuff. I'm going to mess with this as well, the Avalon here.
I like your smell and the smell I do. Oh, blue dance, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh,
Like, massive change right there. And what I did there, just so you guys know, is I'm taking this 80 hertz. So if you look, it says sweep sidechain low frequency in hertz. Okay, so that's the sidechain allowing or disallowing that frequency. Okay, so if you look at this, this says clockwise rotation raises the threshold and counterclockwise lowers the threshold at the frequency set by the low frequency control directly below. So as we turn that up to clockwise, right, it raises the threshold. It lets more of that frequency through, right? If I turn it the other way, it's going to choke down on this frequency, okay, on the sidechain. So I let 80 hertz more through is what I'm doing. But if I go counterclockwise, just listen.
I like your smell and the smell I do. Oh, blue dance.
All right, so notice, look at the meter, the compression, because that's what that Avalon meter is doing. It's showing you in decibels your dB that's being compressed. Now what I'm doing is I'm letting through more 80 hertz, so it's hitting that compressor a lot harder, okay? So if I let the 80 hertz get compressed harder, it's going to trigger the compressor more when 80 hertz comes through, which is going to fuck up everything, right? It's going to make the mix sound really weird. But if I let it through, then the compressor is not going to affect that 80 hertz, okay? So check it out.
I like your smell and the smell I do. Oh, blue dance, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I.
All right, so we're really messing around with dynamics here. This is really, really important to the master chain. We get this tight sound, but we still have a big low end. It feels full. It's going to cut on all speakers. You're going to hear the low end on phones, you know, all that good stuff. But also on a big system, it's not going to, you know what I mean? So that's really what I'm doing with the Avalon here. And then the EQ is really nice on this. If you want more air, you can do this 32K. And I'll just show you like how musical this is. It's very nice.
I like your smell and the smell I do. Oh, blue dance, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone.
It's like one of the most musical high bands, like air bands, right? And then just messing around with this, like, you know, I want to get maybe a little more punch out of everything, thickness, you know what I mean? So this is 125, I believe. Yeah, 125, and then this is 15 hertz. So that's like sub, right? So I may want to actually back off this. I may not want to push more 15 hertz into the God particle. That would be kind of weird, right? Sometimes it's cool. Sometimes it's musical, and it feels big. But let's just mess with that low band. I'm doing a little bit of a smiley face curve. It's a Fletcher Munson curve, right? Just because that's how we like to hear things.
You, I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. You, I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. You.
Okay, so that sounded pretty musical to me, right? Like real tight and together, but still like you got the harmonics, you got some nice EQ, you know, it's got like some sheen on it. It's not too bright. It's still kind of rounded sounding, or you could turn it up and it's not going to kill your ears. And then on this stuff, so this is really important as well. You have a tube signal path, so you can throw in a tube. I could take that in and out and just check that, because sometimes that might be too much harmonics. So let's just kind of bypass that in and out so we can hear it with the tube circuitry or without.
You, I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to.
It gives it a nice hug. It's very, very subtle. So if you're hearing that, you have a good, playback system. But I like that. I think that that's nice. Here's another thing. So do we want to compress harder on the parts that are a little bit intense, or do we want to let those things through? There's another thing we can do with the sidechain, right? So I kind of like this because it has like that harshness factor where you can kind of choke down on the things that are really harsh. So for me, like I go around like the 2.2, 2.5K, and I can compress on that a little bit harder, right? So check it out.
You, I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. You, I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look.
You hear what we're doing? We're listening to the sidechain. So that's where we can find out like where is that annoying frequency that if I turn these speakers up loud, it's going to be like, oh God. And I think I found it, right? It's like right around 2.5K. So now I can say, remember, clockwise rotation raises the threshold. That lets through more of that frequency. If I turn it counterclockwise, it's going to compress down on that frequency. So that's a really cool feature. And I'll show you the difference. Like let's turn this all the way clockwise, and then we'll go all the way counterclockwise. And just listen to the frequency that really loud 2.5.
You, I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to.
So here's the hard part. This is the hard part here. Now you're getting to a point where if you take out too much of that 2.5K, the loudness of your record is going to be a lot less. It's going to be a lot quieter sounding. So this is where like, we spend so much money and so many hours in the studio, on our speakers, on our D to A to D conversion, all that stuff, where the clocking, all that shit, where you guys are like, oh, it's so stupid. You bought speakers that cost $17,000. That's so dumb. But it's like, that's why I get hired, right? Because there's that fine balance of that 2.5K needs to be loud and it needs to compete with other records, because that's what LUFS are really measured on, is the mid-range, that area. And that's what makes a record feel louder to us psychoacoustically, because that's how we hear. And that's just from literally nature, right? A baby screams in 2.5K, like, right? So we can hear it louder. Sirens are designed in that area. Woo! Right? All this shit. So that's what we hear is loud. So when you hear a record that has a lot of that mid-range push, that 1K to 5K, it sounds louder and it's more competitive. But that doesn't mean that you want to just push that area, because it can get really obnoxious. So you got to think about the intentionality of the record, where it's going to be played. Is this a club record where they want to bump it really loud and it's going to just kill people if you got a bunch of 2.5K in it? Is it going to be a Spotify streaming record where it needs to be competitive in a playlist and sound just as loud as the next record and the record before it, etc.? So this is a fine balance here, is what I'm saying. You have to be very... You have to know what you're doing here, because you can fuck up the whole thing.
I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to.
All right, another feature here that I'm going to mess around with is the ability to now take the EQ. See how this is EQ to comp, and this says pre? It inserts the 6-band graphic EQ before the compressor. So this is now going ahead of the compression, right? If I hit that, now the EQ's after the compressor. So you want to A/B those. You want to check those out.
I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to. I like smell and the small tattoo. Oh, blue jeans, what a perfect look. Don't wanna go and find someone new. Oh, love you is what I need to.
All right, it's getting really close. My kick drum is like taking over a lot, right? So it's mainly the punch of the kick drum. So I'm going to go back on the kick drum a little bit, and we're going to go, yeah, I think it's here. And we're just going to take this back down just a touch, right? And then the parallel, this drum comp, P comp here, this is pushing a little much, right? And I also think maybe we need to let in a little bit more of that. So just kind of bring that up, all right? And then bring the parallel down just a touch. kind of a weird ending. But yeah, like, you know, this is like at the stage now where I'm going to go nitpick and I'm going to do some automation and stuff. Big stuff is like, I don't want any part to feel like it fell off a cliff. And some of this does, and I think it's more arrangement reasons and production reasons. But, you know, I can help it out a little bit more, I think. But yeah, I think this is pretty close. And I wouldn't try to get more gain out of the master. At this point, it's like about taking the parts that are there and maximizing, right? Okay, this part's going to come in, the risers are coming in, you know, maybe something else needs the frequencies swept out of them, stuff like that. So this is also a point in the mix where I take a ear break, because now I'm getting into like the fine details, and I've been streaming for almost 2 hours now, right? So my ears are pretty tight right now. I can actually feel it. So it's like at a point where take a little break, I come back to this and I finish the master within, I'd say I'll do some automation and stuff, and then I'll finish the master within an hour or so. So do you guys have any questions at all about any of this? Hopefully this stream was useful and you got something out of it. And if you did, you know, share the streams, share the show, share the channel, subscribe, all that good stuff, you know. Community here, stuff that, you know, I'm trying to show you guys. It's stuff that I've been doing for 28 years now. You know, I've been in music. So mixing and mastering, using Pro Tools. I've been using Pro Tools for like 18 years now, something like that. Logic Pro, been using that for 15 years. You know, I've mixed, mastered maybe over 1,000 records by now, I'd imagine. You know, I got platinum records. I got, you know, Grammy nominated work, Oscar nominated work I've worked on, Golden Globe nominated work. Yeah. Cannes Film Festival, all that good shit. So yeah, just, show a little love, you know, and, share the stuff. And, you know, I try to help you guys out. I can't really fix a lot of stuff in the mix, just so you guys know. It's like, you know, it's like if you got a track you really like and you're like, man, I really fuck with this, I could give you production notes as I'm mixing stuff. But, you know, usually working with a mixing engineer is going to help you become a better producer, right? Because the mixing engineer is going to be like, if they're a good mixing engineer, they're going to be like, hey, here's some things I would look out for next time. Also, I think, you know, when you hear something mixed, you go, oh, I see what you did there. You like took that sound. That wasn't a very important sound, you know, and I totally agree. And you made this sound more important because I've heard so many records, you know, both good, really good, and really bad, and everything in between. And I've worked on everything in between. And so it's easy for me to be like, yeah, this isn't important, but this sound is really dope. And this is pretty important. So let's make sure these things shine. And you get your record back and you go, oh, fuck, it was way better than what I thought I had in mind, you know? So that really helps when you work with a mix engineer. And then some people are really great producers and writers and arrangers and all that stuff, and they just need that extra bump to get their shit to be popping in Spotify playlists and stuff, and get you more opportunities with publishers, labels, other collaborators and artists and writers and people that are bigger than you, you know what I mean? But you know, this is all about skill. It's not about the plugins I'm using. It's not about all this shit like that people sell you on online all the time. It really is mainly about the skill. So my camera just died. I'm gonna get out of here. Peace, guys. Have a great one.